You guys are great, you know, week to week, showing up. That's a lot. It's just like you have a goal to work out and you show up at the gym every day and you make stuff happen. That's what you have to do. It's not a secret, right? All the things that we're teaching here are not secrets, but you do have to put it into practice, and there is some technique involved. All right, so today we are in module 9. Can you see my screen okay? Give me a yes here.
Yes.
If you can see everything okay. Give me a yes in the chat there. All right. And give me a yes if you've gotten some socks from my buddy Brennan Agronoff, or if you have bought socks at blitzgifts.com so you can delight one of your clients. Eric's bought some socks. Fantastic. Brendan's going to join me today, and we're going to talk about what happens after the meeting. Remember, we're in part 3 of a 3-part session on what do you do during a client meeting. So there was what we do before the meeting, which is 2 weeks ago. What do we do during the meeting? You guys remember last week, Marshall Silver? Wasn't he awesome?
Yeah.
Does that guy know how to close or what, right?
Seriously.
How do you close during a meeting, right? And then what do you do to follow up? And today we're talking about what do you do after the meeting. Before we get started, let's go into the wins. Tell us about your wins that have happened this week. This is a win. This is me and Sean Dill, who runs the biggest chiropractor group, the highest end chiropractor group. Sean's a good friend of ours. He's awesome. And in a minute, I'm going to tell you about what we've done in our relationship with him, because I want you to be able to do the same thing with the lighthouse that you have. And then Brendan can interject anytime with some thoughts that he has. But I'd love to hear what have been your wins here. Oh, Bonnie, you have a chiro client. Tell us about that. Oh, I can't hear you. You got to unmute.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay, so it's Cameron Family Chiropractic, part of BDC, and he approached me on Messenger, and I think he's also a client of Blitz and Jordan Bowen for digital plumbing, but I sold my snapshot report, and he's also going to work with me with respect to one of the packages at Vendasta once he fixes his website speed issues. And
okay.
So I sold the snapshot report, my very first snapshot report, for $97, but the cost is $2, so I get that $95.
Congratulations. And then what you want to do is edify that client. Everything you see. So Bonnie, you're very good at following up on details and watching and understanding what's going on in other people's lives. So do everything you can to edify them, help them assemble the why, how, and what. And then you'll be able to work in conjunction with me and Jordan and Tristan and the other folks that are serving chiro. Because what we don't want to do is have competing pieces. There's so much that we can do for our chiropractors that let's make sure that we're not overlapping. So I think, is it Chris Colgan?
Actually, no, it's Chris Cameron, but no, I did not. I didn't step on bounds. I checked with you and Jordan within the community, and you guys said it's okay. And Jordan offered me to do the digital plumbing. I said no, because I know it's your guys. So I'm basically sold a snapshot report, and so I'm not competing at all.
Okay, fantastic. Good job, Bonnie. Anyone else with the win they want to share?
Yeah, what's up?
Hey, whoa, you're so bright, gotta wear shades.
Oh yeah, I'm dealing with a big screen here. The real estate landed my first real estate deal. I've been working with, I had a little niche stuff going on over here, so I've been crushing it with this stuff. But then real estate's a new thing. It's always hot right here, Southern California. Beaches of Carlsbad. So their office is literally right underneath the Carlsbad sign, and I got the team lead. So I got a whole team of them. So I don't have any idea how any of this stuff works, but we're going to be running around doing some content and sellers. We're solely focusing on seller leads instead of buyer leads. So that's what the market's wanting right now. It's hot.
Good job.
So, woo.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Woo. All right. Who else? Gnarly pineapple. I love it. Who else has got a win to share? I've got a big win to share, but I want to hear what else you guys have.
I've got a couple of wins from this last week I can share.
Yes, Rena.
I got 3 snapshot audits in the last couple of days, which are going to be great.
Great.
And then last week and earlier this week, I met with a gal who has a whole holistic wellness network, and it looks like we're going to be working together. She wants me to give some sweetheart deals and start training, and I'm going to switch my vertical, and it's got like huge potential for long-term leads just coming in. And yeah, so
That's right. Build around that lighthouse. The lighthouse is what gives you that magnifying effect. And there's a lot of areas within health and wellness, like we talked about. I would start narrow and expand outwards. Because the whole point of the lighthouse is you're focusing that, you know, just like the magnifying glass, you can concentrate
we're
down.
going to focus on chiropractors because they have the most credentials. So I'll be joining the chiro group.
All right. So you should talk to Jordan, and I'll talk about chiro in just a second as an example of what you can do with any other vertical. So don't think like what we're doing is not replicable to other areas. Anyone else with the win?
Yeah, Mike Corso here from New York. How you doing, Dennis?
Hey, Mike.
So I created a vendor package offering B2B lead generation service, which I've sold about 7 packages. So I'm doing pretty well with that. So I was talking to my latest client, and I just thought it was going to be on, you know, showing him the campaign and what we're doing in terms of lead generation via LinkedIn.
Yep.
And as it turned out, he wants to sign up for some social media and
Good.
reviews, listings, et cetera, et cetera. So I'm sending him a package right now that I expect they're going to sign off on. I was on the phone with him and the CEO of the company.
Wow, fantastic. And do you have marketing materials that explain exactly how your packages work, branded as you?
Yes. In fact, I'll post it in the chat.
Fantastic. And is it on your site too with videos explaining each stage of the process in your package?
I have to add a video, but it is a link on the top of my website, which I'll share also.
Fantastic. Awesome.
Yeah.
Kathy White. I have a great first time meeting on Monday with a group of guys who do investor funding for startup businesses. We have something that we should chat with you about.
Okay. We better do it quick.
We do some stuff, Kathy, with startup financing and investor tax credit. So message Alex Cow on that, who's in our group here.
Alex.
Okay.
Okay, I'll find it.
Okay. All right, cool. Shelly Jean, you have your share.
Yes, thank you. So first of all, Dennis, thank you so much for the video, you, Tristan, and Susan. Oh my gosh, that was absolutely amazing. And then I'm starting to have people, I mean, I've had people connect with me for a while, but I'm starting to get really higher influencers. And I have to share that this morning I did a Grateful a year ago, and it was a year memory. And all of a sudden I saw that it was shared to somebody's page. I went and checked, and I was like, are you serious? It was Shaka Dyson. Shaka Dyson is a huge influencer in the automotive industry. And my cousin actually put me in this group, and I thought, why am I in an automotive group? Like, what is going on? And it has been amazing, but it's huge. And so I actually posted a link into Conquer Local, because there's another guy who is in that group, in the Rise and Grind group, who went like crazy on YouTube. And so he was sharing how he did that. So I thought it would be a great share inside the group. So I just wanted to share that. So thank you.
Good job, Shelly. And you guys should follow Shelly's journey. She's been working really hard, been all over the place, had various ups and downs personally and professionally. But it's one of those things that if you don't quit, you win. And that absolutely is the case in the agency space. You might hear a lot of people talk about how they're making 7 figures as an agency, and they're on the beach with their Lamborghinis, which don't drive on the beach, but somehow they are, because it's all photoshopped anyway. And it's not as easy as you think, you know? Talk to anyone who's a successful agency owner. It's a grind. I'm glad you guys are here. It's putting in the reps. It's putting in the time. And just like I said, one of my favorite quotes from a mentor is, if you don't quit, you win. Just like this guy, Brennan. How long have you been doing the sock thing now?
7, 8 years now. So
isn't that incredible? Look, so our buddy, Caleb Williams, he is a insurance advisor. He serves insurance companies, and he's got a book, and he's got socks like this with his face on them. And you would think someone like this because you haven't really heard of him until this year, right? You might not have heard of Brennan, or actually Brennan's even more under the radar than people like Caleb. And they think like, wow, Brennan is running a 7 or 8 figure company. And you're how old?
20. Yeah.
20.
But it's been 7 years. So
see,
it took a while to get here.
That's more experience than most business people. And this guy has a wealth of knowledge. It takes time. And people don't, if you're like us, you don't turn on the camera until you've already succeeded, but that might already be 10 years into the journey. I'm 30 years into my journey, right? I've only turned on the camera in the last 5 years. The first 25 years, there's not very much of me. You go see, there's not that much. It's not easy. So I want you to appreciate what it takes when you learn from other people that have done it. They're going to help you shortcut that process. That's the power of mentorship. That's the power of being together with other people. How is your agency doing? Let me know in the chat. Are you brand new here? Have you got your first client? Are you now hiring your first VAs and first team members? Are you up at $10,000 a month? Are you trying to scale now that you maybe have 40 or 50 clients? You want to take it to the next level. Where are you guys at? Wow, Jim, 12 years, 1 year with Vendasta. Awesome. Under 10K says Rishan. VAs, David Nicholas. Okay. And are you on the Vendasta platform? That's our secret weapon. We love Vendasta. Vendasta is how we're able to get a lot of the work done, including the snapshot report. There's the whole structure of how things are done and the outsourcing, the ultimate white label. You have the task manager, which is fantastic, which is project management. Yes. If any of you guys are not on Vendasta yet, not to single you out, but help me understand, why are you not on Vendasta yet? Have you not heard about Vendasta? Or maybe you're using some other tool, or you're just, there's so many other things that you're doing. Needing to scale, love Vendasta. Yes, I'm Vendasta. I'm pretty sure most of the people here are in Vendasta. It's our little secret. Like, we don't tell the clients about Vendasta. That's like our little thing. Because they see the snapshot report and like, wow, this is amazing. And you're able to walk them through the different components. Yeah. Okay. Filmed my first 3 Y videos this week. Awesome, Thomas. We have a lot of new opportunities. Cairo is the biggest one, which we're going to talk about in just a second. And we have other ones in financial services, in insurance advisory, and in CBD, and other ones I'll talk about in a minute. But now I want to talk about what we're doing with chiropractor as an example that everyone else can follow. So have you guys seen this guy in my feed, Tristan Parmley? Fantastic. This guy has an incredible story. Did you know he was the fastest white man in the United States?
It's crazy.
3 years ago. He ran 10.13 in the 100 meters. So he and I, like, you can Google him, you see pictures of him. He had like these cornrows or whatever it was. Like, I don't know, like maybe that's the culture if you're a sprinter, you know? But we spent 3 days in San Diego a few days ago, and we nailed a deal where we're taking a lot of the processes that we have and applying it to his business. He had only 13 chiropractors, which is great. And he's making $17,000 a month in fees. That's not bad. He had a business partner that's been a longtime friend. And we said, you know, you guys are doing such a good job that in the last 3 years in running your agency, you've never lost a client, which is a really hard thing to do in the agency space. We investigated what his techniques were, how they are creating video. We have alignment and how we do 1-minute videos, that we decided, you know, let's just put our stuff together. Let's take the 50 Chiro clients that we have, plus his 13, 63 Chiros, make it one agency, and we're putting it under Chiro revenue. They have our systems and processes. He's hired a bunch of VAs. We've given them a bunch of VAs. This has also helped a lot with Dr. Jordan. And it also helps because of the relationships that we have. The deal that we finalized in San Diego, now this is more advanced, but I want you guys to see how this is possible. What we nailed in San Diego was, we said, hey, there's one thing with being a Chiro agency, using marketing to be able to drive more bookings and people that show up and appointments, and, you know, the idea of Chiro revenue, right? There's the agency side. Then there's the EHR side, electronic health records, medical billing. And these guys are processing patient appointments, categorizing what the conditions are, sending out reminders, saying, hey, you know, you have an appointment next Thursday at 2 p.m. So we're integrating those. So the reports here, and of course there's HIPAA and things that we've had to make sure we're compliant with, but the marketing is now tied to the revenue. So we have joint reports that show how we're doing. So if you're a member of Katana which is the leading EHR for chiropractors, the system that they're using, then you're going to want to use Chiro Revenue for marketing. If you're using Chiro Revenue, then of course you want to have Katana because we have this integration. And we have a benchmark report that says, here's how you stack up against the other chiropractors. You just have to fill out this form showing how you're doing, and we can benchmark your retention, your average client revenue, your show-up rates, how many visits you have, how your packages compare in pricing. And it's like a Vendasta snapshot report. Now, what the Vendasta snapshot report does is it looks at your business based on, in 6 areas on publicly available information. But what if we had the rest of your practice on how many people do you have? What kind of efficiencies do you have, right? How well do you stack up, not just on digital, but against your business, and how much revenue you generate per patient, right? Wouldn't that be neat to see? Then the third component of that, which makes a triangle, is the coaching from Black Diamond Club, which is run by Sean and Lacey. They are the most preeminent chiropractors. They are a lighthouse because they have the network among all the other people that sell products and services to chiropractors. So the coaching plus the marketing plus the software, we are now cross-referring. So if you're in their coaching program, then of course you're going to want to sign up for the marketing agency side, which means you want the EHR. And now we're setting up cross-ownership where we're not just doing affiliate referrals, but we know each other. So Brennan and I are flying to Indianapolis next week. I know, isn't it crazy during Corona? Like they actually have like meetings and stuff to speak at the conference of all the people that have licensed the chiropractic franchise. So the coaching company also has a franchise. So if you want to open a McDonald's, you want to open a whatever, there's a franchise for chiropractors. So when we spoke in Indianapolis, what is it, a month or 2 ago, and we sold 40 packages from the stage within an hour, we wrote a check to Sean and Lacey for the privilege of being able to speak. And that's what people like Marshall Silver are really good at being able to do, which is selling from the stage. You see, that guy's powerful. I think he's like hypnotizing you, right? It's like, you don't even know if you're being hypnotized, right? Brent and I, we were at his beach house, if you can call it a house, on the beach. We're in the backyard. Like, we walk out into his backyard, it's the beach, and we're eating ice cream and like hanging out, going to his movie. He's got a movie theater in his house, so, you know, it's nice. And he's helping us sell to chiropractors more efficiently. He's helping chiropractors sell to the patients that are coming in and being able to close these deals better. So you see how there's synergy that's coming in? We had a call yesterday with the CEO of Builderall. Builderall has more customers than ClickFunnels, but they're just not really known in the United States. Now we're putting that relationship together, and they're building items that we want to be able to serve us. So we can use Vendasta for Vendasta things, and then for all the tool building landing page stuff, we have that. Now it all fits under the same ecosystem. That's what happens when you have these sorts of relationships, right? So think about where you have these things that are not competitive, but are complementary. And that way we have a roll up in the lighthouse space, or in the lighthouse of chiropractors, the lighthouse of real estate agents, the lighthouse of all these other areas. There is way more than you can possibly imagine if you have this abundance mindset. Brennan's come with me all over the place to these other things, and he's my secret weapon, because people think because I'm older and I have the resume that I know what I'm doing, but I'll let him say it. He's actually responsible for a lot of the decisions that I'm making. Is that crazy or what?
No, it's exciting. Like, I work on a lot of the architecture stuff in the background that sort of helps. Like you just talked about bridging all these pieces together. There's a lot of software that has to do that, and how do we construct that to be most effective? So
he and I are software guys. So behind the deal making, so you see the deal making that we're making, but behind that is software. So the tip of the iceberg is the deal making and hanging out with people. So you might see like we're hanging out with cool people, and that is cool. But for every one piece you see above, you know, the iceberg above the water, there's 10 pieces below. And we're working on exactly how we hire VAs, exactly what the software has to do. We've got to reconfigure a lot of things. And at some point, I think that you will want to do that when you hit a certain scale. Maybe not now, but I want you guys to understand inception is being able to have that idea, knowing 8 steps ahead that that's where you're going to be. Maybe you're not ready for that now, but at some point you're going to need to know this. So just start planting that seed on where you're going to be. Just like Marshall said last week, maybe financially you're not a millionaire right now, but you have to believe that you are. Not in some fake wishy-washy kind of way, but you have to adopt the habits of a millionaire. You have to believe as a millionaire. You have to think like a millionaire, and not just a millionaire, but someone who's successful, has a good family life, is happy, is healthy, right? You have to adopt the habits of someone who's successful so that those seeds, when you plant them, will manifest into fruit. It's not something that just happens and you get this one big deal and all of a sudden your life is amazing, right? That's the lie that people tell you. The people that sell you courses and masterminds give you that lie. No, you have to have planted the seeds much earlier. Amen?
Amen.
So if you haven't seen, who saw the episode we had with Marshall Silver, filmed from the Certainty Theater last week? Yes, let me know. What did you think about Marshall Silver? And who's heard of Marshall Silver? Have you heard of him?
I hadn't before.
Some of you guys have heard.
I'm too young.
Who hasn't seen Marshall Silver? Go back and what? Powerful, right? You want to say powerful. When you say power, that's like the word he latches onto. Like when he hypnotizes you, he gets you to say it. And he says, and anytime you hear the word power, you're going to think about the power that you have. And remember that I can't.
You got the voice down now.
His voice is just his voice. It's like the way he does it. Oh my goodness. I think he's incepted me because I absolutely love the man.
You do.
I saw him on, you know what it is? I think he incepted me 30 years ago because in the 90s, he was all over the place. He outsold Tony Robbins. And I think it's a psychological trigger. It's an anchor where I hear that voice. It's like an authority voice. And I remember that voice from 30 years ago. He's got me hypnotized for sure. We were all hypnotized, right? You have someone who's trained says JP. Yeah. All right. Casting a spell. Hey, all influence, all persuasion, all selling is hypnosis. And he'll tell you that. And everything we're doing here in season 1, we have 19 episodes here, is around how do you build inception? How do you build a lighthouse? How do you build the influence that comes from choosing a category, interviewing the other people in that category, demonstrating you have the system, creating perceived authority. If you haven't gone through season 1 and you're new here, go through there. I promise you will still be here. You can catch up. So we're now at episode 9 in season 2. What are we doing in the perfect client meeting after the meeting? Here we have all the resources, previous workshops. We have a Facebook group. Make sure you have an accountability partner. Of course, that means you have to choose a lighthouse. So if you choose real estate agents, then you want to talk to Eric Nowinski, who I believe runs that real estate group. And for chiropractors, Dr. Jordan Bowen, and that's a growing group. Doesn't have to be chiropractors, it's any niche. There's 300 niches in the United States, which are called Yellow Page headings. You go to Yellow Pages, those main categories, those are niches that you can choose. And we also have office hours, which right now is $100, and you get live with me. I will answer your questions. Maybe even Brendan will come and answer some questions. Every week we're there. You can watch the previous replays. You don't have to be there every week, but it might be nice just to tune in and listen to the questions other people have, because the odds are they're yeah, believe me, it's expensive. It hurts. So what happens after a meeting? You have a meeting and everyone's thinking, yeah, that was awesome. We're ready to do business, and they're happy and you thought it goes great, or maybe it's one of your salespeople if you have a larger team. But now it's time to follow through and send out a statement of work. It's time to set up a project. It's time to allocate work to different people. Someone's got to do the digital plumbing. Someone's got to mess with their website. Now we got to get access. Now we have to assign people. And it's the not sexy part, but collecting the money, that's pretty sexy to me, right? So the RACI model, who's heard of the RACI model? Yes? Let me know, yes or no. Have you heard of the RACI model? And if no, that's okay too. No? Okay. Yes? No? Okay. Do you want to explain RACI or should I explain?
You can do RACI.
Okay. RACI is not a technique that I invented. It is a project management methodology that stands for responsible, accountable, consulted, and informed. And anytime you have a project where there's at least 2 people, you need to know who exactly is doing what, because otherwise everyone tries to do everything and then things get dropped and you have too many emails or some things you should have been copied on that you shouldn't have, and vice versa. In any particular project, you have one person in charge, not 2 people, not co-leaders, not us 3 will make a decision. You have one person, because if you don't have one person, you have nobody, okay? Don't go for the thing, oh, me and Brennan will together. No, one person is in charge. Now that person can consult other people that are experts, but one person is accountable. So when you have that client, Whose butt is on the line for delivery? No matter what the excuses are, know who that is. Is it you as the agency owner? Is it someone on your team? So we have Dr. Jordan Bowen, who's responsible for all those chiropractor clients. It's not me. I can say whatever. I can make some random promise. He has to deliver upon it, of course, right? That would be abusing Racy. But the A is they own it no matter what, full stop, period, right? Full stop for Europeans means period, that's it, right? Responsible is at a task level. So if you're using Vendasta Task Manager to allocate things to VAQs, to edit videos, to set up a PPC campaign, to write an article, to do like whatever it is that you do, set up digital plumbing, run an ad, you can be responsible, you can delegate responsibility at the task level. But if that person doesn't come through, whose butt's on the line? Yours, or whoever is the accountable one. Consulted is you have someone who's an expert. So us being here or you being in office hours, you're able to consult other people to make sure that you're doing it right. The consulted person is not doing the work, because that's the R, that's responsible, that's task level. But maybe they're giving advice. Maybe that's where you have training. The I is informed, where they know about what's going on. Maybe it's the big boss, but they've delegated it out to someone else on the team. And maybe the big boss is the one who signed the contract you're doing the deal with, but they're too busy, but they need to be informed what's going on along the way. But if you're informed, often that can occur after the work has happened. Most people, they want to have a meeting, they send out this big note, or they have lots of people in a Zoom call, and they bring everyone together because they don't understand the difference between responsible, accountable, consulted, and informed. The more people you have, the more likely there is to be chaos from not being clear on what the different roles are. So after the meeting, we have to send out the meeting minutes agreeing this is what we're doing. So in our call with Marshall and Eric of Builderall, who's the founder of Builderall, we agreed upon a particular deal on what we're going to do to be able to launch this company into the next phase. And Marshall said, Eric, to summarize what it is that we talked about, can you, in your words, send a note so that way I make sure that I've been communicating clearly what we talked about, right? That's why I love to have Brennan here, because we have someone else who is analyzing and making sure that I didn't accidentally hear something that wasn't said, or maybe I missed a key point because I'm so busy thinking about this one thing that they were talking about this other thing and I wasn't fully paying attention. And Brennan's like, oh, did you remember that as part of the deal, they also said this, this, and this? I'm like, oh yeah, that's right. So that's the power of a team approach. The team can either help you or it can get in the way and cause problems. As you build your team, you're going to find that this is more important. Maybe right now you're not doing it because you're working one-on-one with that business owner. So you don't have this racy thing because it's just you and the business owner and then the Vendasta platform that you're white labeling. But when you start to have VAs, you absolutely want to assign tasks one by one by VAs into different queues. And that's what it means to be responsible. That way you can be accountable and not have to worry about, are these different tasks being done? In fact, you can even delegate out the project management to a project management VA. One of the things that surprised me about Tristan Parmley was, he's hired 4 or 5 VAs and they're doing awesome VA things, but he was smart enough for one of his key hires to hire this guy named Julio, who's his project manager VA. And this guy is on top of every detail. Tristan doesn't have to chase any of these items because this guy is watching everything. He's managing these other VAs. It's fantastic. And I said, dude, good job.
Yeah.
That was really smart. And you have VAs that manage VAs, right? You have other, you have a man, because you can't, like you'll have up to 150 VAs in your program.
You can't manage 100 of them. And the second you throw that layer in between you and you've got you, the project manager, and then the VAs, right? You remove yourself and you're able to go work on new things instead of dealing with existing.
Right. Can you imagine Brennan trying to manage 150 VAs that are all doing different tasks and putting people's faces on socks and, reaching out and saying thank you and all that kind of stuff, right?
And as long as you have process, you don't even necessarily have to remember what they're doing. All you get is the weekly reports from the project manager.
Yep, absolutely. That way you're not wasting time. You don't want to be chasing people down. It's a huge waste. So let's take a look at what happens after the meeting. Everything's governed by a checklist. So here's our after meeting checklist. When you send out the notes, send them out the same day. Don't think even if you're tired, it's the end of the day, send them out the same day. That way you set the expectation. Every time you have a meeting, you send out the notes the same day. In the same way, the day before the meeting, we talked about, we send out the notes and the agenda saying, hey, just want to remind everybody, we have a meeting tomorrow morning at 9 a.m. and here's what we're covering, right? You're setting that expectation that you're reliable, that you always do this, and that creates a lot of trust. And then the client is less likely to come after you saying, gee, I wonder what they're doing, because they know what to expect. And then they're less likely to cancel too, because instead of like, I think I'm going to call Brennan and ask him what he's up to. Then we know like, okay, it's tracked inside Basecamp. We know that even if, I wasn't able to attend the meeting, I know that I'm going to see the meeting notes later, so I don't have to worry about it. And then we include the Zoom link if anyone wants to listen to it. No one ever goes back and listens to the Zoom link.
Rarely.
But the fact that it's there is comforting.
Yeah.
Right. The fact that they might see that we have this process here, and this is how we do stuff. This creates a lot of comfort. So we literally will mail this out at our expense to clients. We don't tell them it's coming because we want to create the surprise. And like literally having this is comforting because they think like, yes,
nothing can go wrong.
I'm being protected. I mean, you could send them some PDF, but tell me, what's the difference between having this versus having some PDF that gets sent as an email attachment? Tell me in the comments, what's the difference? Or Brennan, what's the difference?
I mean, everyone gets PDFs, right? You don't know how many pages there are. There's something nice about having a nice thick thing with pretty graphics and whatnot, that there's process for everything.
Yeah. And what's the difference between sending someone a GIF that has their face on it versus they get this in the mail? What's the difference? You guys understand the difference here? This is what we're talking about, and perceived authority. And while you're getting the client to be patient, because it takes a while. It takes a while to lose 50 pounds, right? If you're fat like me, I'm going to lose 50 pounds and run a marathon in January when things open up. It takes time. So you've got to do things to keep them happy, to keep them warm. Just like you go to a restaurant. You ever been to a restaurant and like they're slow, right? And then the waiter has to say, oh, can I give you some bread to like while we're waiting? And they come by like, hey, I know you guys have been waiting a while. I've checked with the kitchen. Your order is next in line. It's like almost there. Like all these things to try to tie them along. Because look, it takes a long time to drive success in digital marketing. So these are all things that help keep them, sets the expectation over what happens over the first 90 days or, what have you. So this is key as part of meeting protocol. Same thing, the perception of checking to make sure you don't have spelling mistakes, make sure it looks okay, update all that stuff the same day. If they have a Basecamp project or whatever, Asana, Trello, Slack, don't use Slack, then update everything there. That way they know that you are on top of these things.
It's all the little touches.
Yeah. And these are all lightweight touches. Like you send them a little something, you send them a 15-second video, you click like on their stuff without being a creep, right? That's how you're building these relationships because we're doing business with people. You have the follow-up items so they know what's coming next because you're setting expectations. That way they're not wandering. When should you call them versus when should you send an email?
I don't know, actually, Dennis. I've never closed anyone.
He's so good. He doesn't even need to feel like he's closing anybody, yet he's driving some crazy sales. What % of your sales increased year over year? Last year versus this year?
It's usually 100% year over year.
But especially this year because of Corona and masks.
Yeah, it's been very big for like selling masks and whatnot. So we'll see how that goes. But
this guy's the master of frequent lightweight touches. I want you to learn how that applies to you as an agency. The simple little things to say thank you. But are you personally calling up every one of your clients?
No,
you're selling a lot. Like how many units do you sell per day
we're
now?
physical goods, right? But a lot of it is like email segmentation and doing the right thing with your workflows of how can we continue to touch these people throughout the year. Because it's a little bit different from agency from what I'm doing, but the same concept applies that I know if I touch them enough times, they'll end up purchasing eventually.
Okay, so that's the answer. Did you hear that? So we call that frequent lightweight touches. Oh, JP's on top of it. He already incepted me. He said frequent lightweight touches right here. Frequent lightweight touches is a heartbeat to know that you're there. It doesn't mean you send flowers once a month and then you never hear from them at all. Frequent lightweight touches are really just an acknowledgement that they're there. It's commenting on their LinkedIn. It's sending them a quick little voicemail saying, hey, I thought of you today when I saw this article.
It's like showing that you care. It's crazy the amount that you can get out of like sending someone a note in the mail. Like if you think about how many people are writing you a note, like what would you think if someone sent you a note in the mail? It's just like the little things and showing that you care.
Yeah. And when we were with Josh Nelson recently in Miami at some steakhouse, I asked him, so Josh, you coach a number of 7-figure agencies. What's the number one reason why clients leave their agency? And he said, it's because the client has a perception that the agency doesn't care. So he calls that perceived indifference, which is a big word. It's true, perceived indifference. What perceived indifference means is if you don't regularly hear from the client doesn't regularly hear from you, your teammates don't regularly hear from you, they're gonna, even if they love you, even if, you exchange vows, I'm using relationship analogies intentionally, they're going to kind of, it seeds a little doubt in their head. Just like if you have a significant other or a wife or boyfriend and you love each other and you've said it and you've been together for many years, but you don't hear I love you every day or every other day in a meaningful sort of way. Like how many times did Marshall say I love you to his kids meaningfully, to his wife?
It was like every time he saw them. It was, I mean, seriously, every time he talked to him, it was like, I love you. They'd always end with that.
Yeah, and it wasn't a fake kind of thing.
No.
He said it meaningfully in the middle of the meeting. So we were having a serious business meeting on how exactly we're going to organize this whole thing. And one of his kids runs in, Daddy, somewhere, whatever it is, can you want to watch a magic trick? Because his kids can do magic. It's great. Like, I'm fooled.
They're scary. Like,
wow.
They're better at magic than we are.
Yeah. And we interrupt our meeting, and one of their, like Prosperity, or who's the one who did the magic? I forgot his name. Anyway, he's got 3 kids, right? Lovely kids. They really are. It's a reflection of how good the parenting is. I mean, you can tell whether the parents are good by how good the kids are, right? And interrupted our meeting and showed us this magic trick, which is like, how the heck did you do this? His kid's like 7. How did he do that?
It's gonna be scary to see him when he's
his
15.
hands were moving fast enough. I was watching his hands. How did he do that?
Yeah.
Right? And Marshall was polite. He let him do the magic trick, which took like 2 minutes. And I was impressed. Like, holy moly, of course you wouldn't expect any less. And then he said, Daddy's in a discussion right now. And we would love tomorrow for you because we're going to be back tomorrow and we'll do some more magic tomorrow. So thank you so much. I love you. Right? And the kid walks away all happy. And I was all happy too. Like, oh, that's so awesome. Right? It's frequent lightweight touches. You have to reaffirm it. Even if they said it before, even if you said that here's what our 6 phases are, or how we're going to do plumbing, or what, you still have to keep reaffirming that. Does that make sense? Are you guys doing that?
Also, as a business owner, you have so much going on, right? This isn't top of mind. That's why they hired you.
That's right.
So just continually keeping them updated to keep moving forward, and the fact that there's momentum.
We all could be better. That's right, Wendy. Top of mind awareness is Heather. That's it. People don't care how much you know until they find out how much you care. That's right, JP. Isn't it interesting that even though we're digital marketers and we're in the business of driving leads and all that, because we do have to drive the actual result, but the perceived authority, the perceived care, and the actual delivery have to go hand in hand, right? Of course, if you show you care and all that, but you don't deliver, you will get kicked out eventually too. You have to do both. Okay. And then the follow-up items. So from the meeting, we're always moving forward. How do we know what the next thing is? Easy. We have a checklist already of all the things that we're doing, right? That way there's no guessing. We don't have to come up with something new. That way the client doesn't have to invent or wonder, and they know that they can follow up inside our project management system to see what's going on. Now let's talk about the mechanics of 6 threads that every client project needs to have. I want you guys to internalize this and understand it, because if you miss this at some point, this is going to kill you, okay? Let's talk about why all 6 of these are important. It's just like having organs, like maybe you have lungs and heart and appendix. Like, do you know where your appendix is and what it does?
We figured this out the other day, somewhere over here.
Yeah. See, like there might be organs that you don't know what they are, but I promise you, well, the appendix you don't need, but I promise like kidneys, liver, like
you need most of it.
Like you actually, like you might have 2 lungs, but you need both of them. Okay. So these are 6 things that you do need. Let's talk about how they work together and how it fits into the SMART model of project management. So first off, when you have a client, you have to have the overview. So what's the overview? It's what they are trying to do. It's who's in charge. It's the Basecamp URL, how much they're paying, the items that they bought. It's kind of like an order form, like your receipt basically, but with some more information around that. And it also helps them because you want to confirm with them, like, thank you for getting this particular package. Here's your team lead. Here's what exactly is going to happen. If you take the SAE or whatever it is, you productize what you have, like Mike said, Mike Corso said, for, he's got everything, he's turning it into videos, right? That's the overview. So you're just reaffirming what it is that they have. 2 is the strategy assessment. What is the strategy assessment? What is strategy?
Strategy is your goals, content, and targeting, right?
It's your goals, content, and targeting spelled out in detail, where you have a strategy assessment form. Ours is at blitzmetrics.com/GCT, and you could have them fill it out, or if it's white glove, you sit down with them in a Zoom call and you ask them the questions and you fill out the form for them. But either way, you need the specifics of goals, content, and targeting, because it's the strategy that are the ingredients that turn into ads and turn into landing pages and turn into everything else there. 3 is access, the access checklist. blitzmetrics.com/ACL, 3-digit, right? GCT, ACL. And that's getting access to their Google and their Facebook and their, whatever, Snapchat, Twitter, TikTok, their CRM, their website. And I can't tell you how many times agencies waste time because they can't get the access right. Clients aren't paying you for that. And the more time you spend on the access checklist and going back and forth, the more time is being burned, the more they're losing confidence. They're wondering when are things going to get going. They need sales. They have to start to see results. Access is necessary. It sets up digital plumbing. It sets up everything else. You want to be able to get through access within a week if you can. And if you need to call them, like Dr. Jordan's been calling some of these folks, these chiropractors, because they don't know, like, oh, this is like this whole list. I can't go through it. Can you just walk me through it? I'm confused. Did I give access the right way? You have to productize and systematize how you do access. So those are the first 3 to get going. The other 3 are in terms of ongoing management and optimization. We call that MAA, Metrics Analysis Action, or CID, Communicate, Iterate, Delegate, which is as a team, you're able to get stuff done. 4 and 5 are the internal update and the client level public update. Now we use Basecamp because we have one thread that's an ongoing thread where we're talking about internally, hey, should we say this to the client? Or, hey, we need, it's kind of like our internal discussion of what's going on. It may be that our people don't know what to do and they don't want to ask the client a ridiculous question like, how much money should I put on that post? Don't ask the client that, because that's like the surgeon saying, hey, should I use this scalpel or that scalpel? Let me ask the patient, do you think I should use, Brendan, this scalpel or that scalpel?
I would leave very quickly.
Don't do that. Okay. And I've seen people on the team, like VAs will do that because they don't know. And I've seen agency owners do that. Do not do that. Okay. Then there's the client public facing update. Now this has to have frequent lightweight communication because the client can see it. So if you know that the client level update has to have a regular, reliable heartbeat, how much faster does the internal update cycle need to spin? Much faster, right? Because you don't want to inundate the client with everything that's going on. The client doesn't need to know what's happening in the kitchen. Sometimes, you drop the food on the floor and you have to make a new one, right? Or that you don't want to tell the client that necessarily, right? I mean, if it's something serious, you need to, obviously let the patient know what's going on. I'm mixing analogies, medical versus food. I'm using food because I haven't eaten. It's a Geiger counter. The more you hear dentists mention food, the hungrier I am, like the closer it is time to eat. After this, we're about to go eat. So the internal and the external update, make sure that is at least weekly. I want to have at least 2 touches. If there's not at least 2 touches per week, that puts in place potential decay and eventually like bad things happen. You lose momentum. It creates what Josh Nelson calls perceived indifference. Part 6 is the meeting. The meeting is something you might do for an enterprise client. Maybe you meet with them 15 minutes every week, or maybe it's just a simple monthly call. Like for most local companies that are paying you less than $2,000 a month, then you just have a quick checkup. Now, most people screw up the meeting because they print out this giant stack that their SEO tool creates and consider that to be somehow like paying in bulk, as in like your service is measured, the number of pages are in the document. No, when you have the meeting, you're talking about what you're doing, what you've done, what you're going to do, and what you need from them, right? We call that GSD, getting stuff done. Or you could use, S can be something else too, if you like. And the meeting is what drives tasks. The meeting is how you're making sure you're on the right page, making sure that like something didn't happen to the client, they got sick, they have a new product, or maybe they have feedback. Like that's because things, you're working remotely with the client. If you're doing a lighthouse and it's chiropractors, you have chiropractors all over the nation. By default, you're a nationwide business because you've chosen a lighthouse. So any one of these tasks, by the way, meetings are for making decisions, which results in tasks. Meetings are not for updates. Updates occur asynchronously. You can send out your update and make a 2-minute video saying, hey, Dr. Smith, I just want to let you know, here's what's going on, and A, B, C, D, and here's a report if you ever want to look at it. They never look at it. Don't waste your time building these big reports. They don't look at it. Make your 2-minute summary saying, hey, I created this, but everything's going well, and here's all the things. Like that's why you can pull up the executive report in Vendasta saying, look, here's all the stuff that's going on, and I just want to let you know that everything's fine, right? And then when they hear that, they're like, okay, good, I don't have to worry about it anymore, right? But you have the bulk with the perception because we want to create the perceived care, not the perceived indifference. So you actually do care, not just pretending that you do. And the meeting, because you're using that to make decisions, because you're not wasting their time, because you're not making them make VA level things, like that's not using their time, right? Then when there's a task, metrics, analysis, action, there's a task because of what's happened. Here's what we're doing next. Or we tested some things. It's working. This thing's working well. We're going to put more money on it. We're going to create different content. We're going to kill something. We have this new, fall back to school campaign. If you're even going back to school, I don't even know.
I've heard they're in December now. They're
really? Okay.
Who knows?
It depends on whether you're like California or like in Arkansas where there's like nothing to be afraid of, right? So when there's tasks that get assigned during a meeting, someone's got to be recording it. which is usually whoever the A is in RACI, right? Responsible, accountable, consulted, informed. Now the task has 3 components. There's what is being done. So you want that to be SMART, specific, measurable, accountable, realistic, time-based. You heard of SMART before? Let me know. Say SMART if you've heard of SMART before. Or just give me a question mark if you don't know, right? SMART, 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 SMART. Okay, very good. You have to be specific about what it is. 2 is who's doing it. There has to be a name on it. That's tying to the R in RACI, who's accountable, or I'm sorry, responsible. You must know exactly what it is and who's doing it. This task should be something that comes from your library of tasks. And if it's not in your library of tasks, you need to update your library or you can't do that task. Everything must be driven by a checklist. Who's doing it and when is it due? By default, we say the due date is 7 days out. Most tasks should be done in a day or 2, but we say 7 days to give ourselves a buffer. And then we can say, ta-da, we came in 4 days early, when really that's 2 days late because we think it should be the next day. See, you always want to come in ahead of time. So you have to buffer it a little bit. And these then go into your project management system, Monday, Basecamp, Trello, Asana, whatever it is that you like. Don't use Slack. We use Basecamp, but Vendasta has Task Manager too. And that's how we get stuff done. And then we're able to feed that back into our reporting. And then that goes into what we did, what we're going to do, what happens next, or what we need from them, right? And so we just keep cycling through that. We can show improvement over time and tie that improvement back to what we're doing because of metrics, analysis, action. By the way, when you hear us say like goals, content, targeting, right? Awareness, consideration, conversion. Those are all part of a framework that is
9 triangles.
You guys heard of the 9 triangles?
It's on the board.
Let us know. 9 triangles? Not heard of the 9 triangles? It will change your life. Yes? Okay. Alex can share some stuff about the 9 triangles. By the way, everything that we're teaching here is based on the 9 triangles. Now, if you are doing something at the enterprise level, after the meeting, you're going to assemble something called the success tracker. Now, you don't have to do the success tracker. You can certainly rely upon the executive report in Vendasta, but if it is a lighthouse and you want to absolutely roll out the red carpet, this is the way we do it. We covered it a couple weeks ago. Same thing for Ashley Furniture. The Ashley guys are great. They're taking good care of us. Man, they like to eat. I like to eat. It's always good to get together, right? Here's examples of that. This might be the most important part of today's meeting, which is how projects fail. I want you to pay attention to this and consider whether you are guilty of any one of these 6 items. There's 3 reasons that the clients fail because of your fault, and there's 3 reasons the client failed because of their fault. And by the way, if the project fails or if things aren't going right, it's always your fault. Okay. But internally, we're going to diagnose. Remember we said there's an internal thread for discussion and there's an external ongoing discussion thread separate from the meeting thread. Let's think about why this might be to save problems, before they ever before they escalate and snowball into some crazy thing. First off is you have unreasonable clients. They expect 20 new patients per week and they just started their practice. I don't think so, right? How do we get around that? We collect their goals, content, and targeting. We reaffirm it. We have a meeting. We send out the meeting minutes saying, we agreed this is where things are. We took a snapshot of where you are. That way, when we go back to it next month, they don't say like, oh, no, we were already generating 5 new patients a week. No, you weren't. We took a snapshot. Here it is. And we're comparing. That way we avoid, because people think about the before and the after. They always think they did better than they did before they needed you. But the reason why they came out to you is because they were in trouble, but they don't remember they're in trouble. When they're successful, this is true with humans in general. When they're successful, they kind of forget that they were struggling before. I guess people don't want to remember. That's why some women will keep having kids. They forget the pain of childbirth, which I think is incredible, right? But during it, they're like, wow, this is incredible pain, right? 2 is they're not qualified for the same reasons because they don't have those particular ingredients of goals, content, and targeting, which is different than expectations. So that's 1 and 2. That's why we say, here's a clear process. Here's our menu. Here's how we do this particular dish. What are we going to eat now?
That's a great question. We'll have to eat something after this.
We're going to eat something, and there's a recipe to be able to make whatever it is. And sometimes the recipe is just put it in the microwave, press 3, and press start. But sometimes we actually need ingredients. We have to cook them and chop them and things like that. So we want to know that they have the right ingredients. What are those ingredients? Goals, content, and targeting. And then we say, this is our checklist. This is what we need to do. And that way, it's not a matter of can we take it on, or is it the magic of Heather Nichols being able to coach you, or Bonnie being able to follow in the footsteps of me and Jordan Bowen and Tristan Parmley. It's here's the checklist. These are the items that we need. You need to bring goals, content, and targeting. We cannot make your content for you. We can edit the videos, but we cannot be your face on video because deep fake technology is not at that point yet. And thus it's objective on what we would love to take you on. However, your audiences aren't big enough, or you haven't been in business long enough, or we can't find you on Google, or you don't have enough reviews, or anything that's tied back to that snapshot report. Now, if Vendasta has created this to be flexible enough that you can decide to take on anybody if you just want to, I wouldn't, right? Just because you can do it doesn't mean you should, right? So think about what you're, not just in your lighthouse, but what minimum criteria you want to set. And I'd love to know, like, what criteria do you have? Our criteria is been in business 2 years, at least $500,000 in revenue, happy customers, lots of reviews, willing to make video with us, and reasonable expectations, working directly with that business owner, right? No third-party agency, no politics with the Sun, believes that they're good at marketing because they study social media from Tai Lopez. They're willing to do it our way, right? We need to have all those things in place, and then we're willing to take them on. If they miss any one of those, we'll just kick them off to someone else. Oh, here's so-and-so who runs an agency. You should go talk to them. I love to give referrals. Watch what happens over there, right? Okay. Third part, the client fails, is that they are not giving us what we need. Usually it's access, or it's the videos, like, oh, we meant to give you the videos, but you know, I got busy last week, or excuse. So on the client side, if you manage against those, you're going to be airtight. Usually the problem is on our side. Why? Because we've already qualified the client. So they've given us the GCT, and then it's up to us to execute. So maybe we have to chase them for access and they didn't reply, or their webmaster lost the password, or who knows. But it's going to be a communication gap, and it goes back to frequent lightweight touches. That's why if you, well, I sent them an email 2 weeks ago and they didn't reply back. Guess who it's on to follow up? No, I sent them many emails. Call them. Literally call them. If you're trying to reach someone and they're not replying to your email, text them, call them, Facebook message them, go drive to their house and knock on their door, send them some flowers and say, I'm trying to reach you. Like, there's many, look, I know you're smart enough that if you want to reach somebody, you can, right? Don't just say, oh, I sent them an email 3 weeks ago, and then later they cancel and you're like, see, they were a difficult client. No, it was your fault because the communication's on you, and it's the A in RACI, right? Usually it's a communication gap. 2 is a competency gap, meaning they're super, like, your guys are, you know, this will often happen with the VAs. Like, they'll do things like that don't make any sense, right? So they don't know what they're doing. Competency is solved through training. That's why you document everything through the checklist. Everything's done on a checklist. The checklist is backed with the training. Do not do anything that doesn't have a checklist that is also backed by associated training. So the first 2, communication and competency, we call that reliability and competence. So if they're not reliable, then everything else falls apart. If they're not competent, then they're going to be, you know, some surgeon that is like, I will watch Tony Robbins, and if I just believe that I can heal the patient, I won't, you know, continue to keep killing these patients if I just believe that I'm a good surgeon. No, you need competency too. Third part, which is almost never happens, is workload. There's perceived workload, and the people that say they're too busy are usually because they haven't done anything the last couple of weeks, and now it's stacked up on them. If everything's task-driven, and we actually had this in our accountability call 2 days ago, where some people on our team that are business leaders said, well, I'm overwhelmed and I can't keep up and I'm trying to do all this work. I'm like, okay, you had this client. As far as I can tell in Basecamp, because we're looking at frequent lightweight communication against the tasks, the regular updates, you know, CID, do, delegate, delete. I don't think you've even done anything for that client. How can you be overwhelmed and how can you be so super busy? Oh, well, I'm working on, you know, understanding what it is they're doing. Which particular task are you stuck on? Not, they weren't even working on a task, right? And I mean this in tough love. 99% of the time when there's a workload gap, when they think it's too much, it's because they're stuck, they're paralyzed. It's not because there's too much work, it's because they're not doing anything. And it happens with junior people, especially when you teach a model that can be perceived to be as complex as what we have. So if there actually is a workload, that they're overloaded, then you hire more VAs, you reassign, you have other people come in. But most of the time when people say they're too busy, it's because they haven't been productive and they don't want to acknowledge personal accountability. These are the 6 reasons. 95% of the time, it's going to be on our side. 5% of the time, it's because we didn't qualify that client properly, okay? This is key. Understand these reasons, because anytime you have perceived failure or the client's unhappy, or the client will say something that will hint that they're not happy, and if they're an enterprise client, they'll never just fire you. They'll always say like, oh, you know, we just needed to switch agencies, or we were doing these things. They're not going to tell you it's because you were incompetent, but it is the case. So listen very carefully, because your account managers, or even you, if you're still small, You might love to believe like, oh, everything's great. They told us everything's awesome. No, they're not. Listen carefully to what's going on, right? And if you're not delivering and it's been a couple months, they're going to fire you. Even if you're the boss's son or whatever, they're going to fire you, okay? Now, let's have hey, I want to see you guys all in the Facebook group, right? It's awesome to meet in a team setting like this, but let's keep the energy going. I love seeing the posts that people have in our Facebook group, sharing, and there's nothing to stop any of you guys from having your own little Zoom groups. And it's not just for accountability, but just, you know, we're all virtual, we're all doing the same kind of thing, but there's something nice to know that there's someone else that maybe you've added on Skype or on chat or whatever to coordinate, right? Think about the power that we have in this group. Isn't this amazing?
Yes.
Don't let it
Dennis?
be just what we have here.
Dennis?
Yep.
I'm confused whether, you know, it's the Facebook group or should we go to the Conquer local group that was set up? I don't know where the priority is these days.
It depends on what you're trying to do. So if you want to get collaboration, just like we have here, maybe simple Q&A, you want to share wins, you want to build a network, then you want to use the Facebook group that's called Conquer Local Think Tank.
Right.
There's another group, and Alex, correct me if I'm wrong, that's for office hours, and that's for people who are paying the $100 a month for the membership. The Conquer Local Think Tank, what we have here is free. There's no charge. You can attend. We do this every week. We're teaching a lesson every week. There's a whole agenda that we've planned out for the next year of the topics that we want to cover. But certainly there's other things that you could do on top of that as well. And of course, there's issues with Basecamp, or not Basecamp, with Vendasta or product things. You know, I'm not part of Vendasta, but I'm a big fan of Vendasta. But certainly they can help with features or bugs or whatever kind of issues that are Vendasta specific.
Dennis, since you're here in the room, my name is Herman from Germany. I've had the pleasure of chatting with you a few times. I just wanted to give you a huge shout out and a thank you. I came across your stuff at a certain stage I'm at now, and I'm still trying to figure out where your rabbit hole really is. But I just want to say the stuff that I've learned, the dots that were connected by it these past weeks, it's incredible. And what you're doing is really awesome. It takes a different mindset. So I really had to pivot from that bottom level marketing mentality that most people try to teach and sell, to actually grasp what you're teaching. But it's really profound, and I just wanted to say thank you very much for doing this. Much appreciated. And it would be great to know, how can I be part of that? You know, you said you have a membership. So I'm still trying to figure out, like I said, where's the entrance to the rabbit hole?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Don't go in the hole, man.
It's a good hole. There's a lot of gold.
You want the red pill or the blue pill?
So I'm going to answer this question in a way that you would have never expected. And I'm going to announce something. I'm going to give you a hint at something that's about to happen that everyone who's here on this call, I think, well, I'm going to tell you and I want to see what you guys think. So why am I here teaching? Why are we putting in so much effort? I think a lot of you guys would agree that even for these courses, you might pay 10 grand or 20 grand to be able to attend. You're getting more value, and a lot of you are not even paying any money for it, right?
Yes.
Last week, Alex said that if you send care, the word care, to operations@blitzmetric.com, you can get all of our stuff for free, provided that you truly are in financial need and you can't afford these other items, because we want to see you grow. Why would anyone do that? Like, why would we share how we're doing this stuff? Why would we bring on these other sorts of guests that are not getting paid to do stuff like this?
You're just an honorable man, for one.
I think we're all honorable people. I think we all, like Tim said, we all want to do the right thing. But there's something
Dennis, I
deeper.
remember I talked to you over Messenger, and I think the clear goal is the mission. And I read your post where you said, if I die and I have 100 grand in my account, and that inspired me. And that's why I reached you out. But, you know, when you said use Messenger for 911 only, I had to Google it. What do you mean by 911?
In the US, 911, yeah.
Yeah, I think you're a mission-driven person, and that's why I'm with you.
Yeah.
Well, Dennis, if I may add something, I have been thinking about that as well. And my wife today, I've been showing her some of the stuff we're partnering this. We just started an agency here in Germany. And she's like, why is this all for free? Like I was showing her some stuff just to get her in it. And what I see developing like an organic structure somewhere else is like this machine, this organic mechanism that it seems to be free in a good, it's not good or bad. Don't want to say it in terms of, you know, evangelic good or bad, but
Yeah.
it's creating this new type of way of doing business because there's no competition really. If you think in a mindset of competition, you always have competitors. But once you pivot away from that competitive mentality and you just create like the I don't know, there's this word, it's good, anyway, that's right, you just get back so much, you know. You create people who know how to use it. And I was saying just now, when I have customers, the biggest challenge I have with them is not actually giving them the tools to be able to market themselves, but to actually pivot their mindset to be able to use the stuff. You know, it's like you're giving someone a Ferrari and they don't know how to drive it. And so that's kind of what I see behind all of this, what you're doing. It's like really, really valuable. That's just my take on it.
Thank you, Herman. I agree. It is mindset. And as cheesy and esoteric and nebulous as it may seem, 2/3 of what this is mindset. It's like what Marshall talked about last week, that if you come into a meeting with the client and you're not sure, they can smell that and they're not going to be able to buy from you. But it's not just pumping yourself up with fake confidence. You have to have clarity because of the clarity of the checklist that you follow. So you have confidence that you can actually deliver. And me and Josh Nelson and Tristan and these other folks have done this at scale. We've done this ourselves to grow 7-figure agencies. We've helped a lot of other people, as you can see in this group and in other groups that have scaled their agencies, and we've built a process that we know works. We want this to become the standard for anyone that is starting and growing a digital marketing agency. And when Brendan King and I, he's the CEO of Vendasta, and I've talked about this, this is before he even started Vendasta. We said, we have a mission and an obligation to be able to help people succeed so they can provide for their families, so they can do something good that they can be proud of, so they can sell products and services, enhancing their existing relationships, not MLM, not hard sell closing, but doing something good where they have respect in their community among a group of peers. That standard, as you know, does not exist anywhere yet. The closest is going to be Digital Marketers Certified Partner Training Program. You guys probably know that I'm the most prolific instructor. I have the most courses in that program. I'm faculty in that program. It's 10 grand to get into that program. And I think it's worth every penny if you have the 10 grand. Social Media Examiner, Michael Stelzner is my friend. Not because I'm trying to name drop, but because we've talked about what does it mean to be the authority, and that this is the checklist that you need to follow to be able to achieve the result. And he has the Social Media Marketing Society, which is a membership group, but there's not a true certification. HubSpot has a certification. Hootsuite has a certification. Google and Facebook have certifications, but those are tool-driven certifications. What about an actual certification that's not biased because, or has perceived bias because it's Facebook that's driving it? You know, because if Facebook has a certification, even if it's supposedly for digital marketing or to be an agency, it's going to be very, very Facebook heavy, isn't it? We're teaching training together with TikTok. We've got a meeting with TikTok in 7 hours because they're in Beijing, and we're building certification and training with them because they know they need a third-party authority that can make it so that it is great training on how to do TikTok ads, but it also has high perceived authority because it's not from TikTok, so it's not the Chinese government trying to like influence you into something, right? And we have the right people. We have the top people in every area of digital marketing that support this. So it's not because Dennis says so, but I'm very fortunate and blessed to be the one that has been allowed to develop these kinds of relationships. And so I have no competitors. We have no competitors because anyone who's any good at digital marketing and has succeeded in doing something, we want to work with them. We want to take their knowledge and turn it into checklists that we can put inside this combined documents and combined courses that you see and make it good as a standard for everybody. Just like medicine has standards. Just like when you repair aircraft, there's standards. It's not voodoo. It's not like, oh, it's a secret. I can't tell you, you know, how I do the surgery. I can't tell you how we fly a plane. I can't tell you how we fix a car. There's clear standards. Do those standards exist at that level that they have in automotive and in aviation as they do in digital marketing? Does that exist in digital marketing yet? No, it doesn't. But who would be the best people that be able to do it? Well, we know who those people are. We've been working very hard to put it all together. And that's why we have this group here, because you guys are setting the example for everybody else. Amen? Think about that. The idea of learn, do, teach. As you're succeeding, as you have these wins, as you're going through these checklists that we've proven out many times, you are helping pave the way for other people that are learning through your example. And that's the payment that I want. I'm not trying to get $10,000 from each of you guys. That's not even what this is about, right? We've already made a lot of money doing a lot of other stuff. But we want you to respect that as well, right? We want you to respect that you got to put in a little something to help pay for the VAs, to pay for the rest of our team. These guys are working really hard putting these things together, right? We want their families to be able to live well and not make it so that it's purely a donation. And if you're in a difficult financial spot and you just can't do that right now, we get it, we'll help you, right? But what you don't want to be is in a situation where you are getting our materials and these other things completely for free when you actually could afford it, because then that's taking money away that could be used to help someone else. That's not ethical, where if you're getting a lot of value and you're able to contribute something to help us build this program, right? It's not a nonprofit, though, although we actually are a nonprofit. Just from an organization standpoint, we're not. It's just we don't want to do all the filing and, you know, all that kind of stuff, but we don't make any money. We put every dollar back into this program. I retired from Yahoo years ago. And believe me, this is not how we make money, right? But $100 a month or paying $1,000 or $9.97 to get access to all of our training, where you get lifetime updates and we keep updating this and provide some support and all that, like that. If your agency's not worth that, then what are you doing? So let's go back to where we were here. Today, we talked about what happens after a meeting. Will I continue to teach? I will, Jerry. I'm always here for you guys. Doesn't matter what the capacity is. You still get me, whatever the name of the company is. And I'm going to take on, actually, there's one thing I didn't explain to finish on Herman's piece. So you get all of this that you have here for free, right? There's no catch. If you've been with us now for, 40 episodes or so, you can tell that. Some of you guys have been here a long time, since the very beginning. You know that we're here, right? If we were trying to sell, it'd be a pretty long con to not be, doing whatever by now. And I've been doing this for a long time. So I have a track record. Now there's this level that's free. You can join office hours, which is $100 a month. Ask other people here who will tell you that it's a great value if you use it, right? And nothing, if you don't use it, it's no value. There's $1,000 or $9.97 for the master presentation, which is all of our training and all the updates and everything that goes with that. We're going to throw in a little bit of coaching too, but we don't mention that. So that's an extra surprise. And then people that become certified digital marketing agencies, where they go through the exercises and they earn their way like a real certification, they have the opportunity to apply to our apprentice program. And in the apprentice program, I will use my network to build your agency, because the odds are I have a personal connection with the lighthouse that you were trying to build. And just like with Jordan Bowen or John Cordray or Tristan Parmley or Will Hanna or the other people in this group, Eric Nowinski, they are getting a massive advantage because of that network and us putting our people into it, where we're helping build their agency. It's very limited in our ability to do this because we can't do this for everybody. So you have to be able to qualify. And in exchange for this mentorship and apprenticeship, we have another weekly group call. We have other things that we're doing to systematize your stuff. And we're doing it on a rev share instead of you paying a fee. So if we were to charge you a fee, it'd be $100,000, right? But most have a chicken and egg situation where they don't have the money, so they can't invest in the program. So if you meet the criteria, you're willing to work hard, you're willing to do things the right way, we're not going to charge you. We'll just win together based on rev share and equity. And you're going to hear from Tristan Parmley and Jordan Bowen about how we did this and how we finalized the deal and how we're winning together. And it's a model that I think is not a one-off model that happened here, but I think it's the model of the agency in the future. Because there's more and more tools, relationships are more and more important, the traffic is more and more expensive. There's so many things that we don't know that we have to partner with other people. And unless you know how to partner, even if you have Vendasta, even if you have all the tools, even if you come to Conquer Local every week, I believe you'll find that you still need to partner with other people if you truly want to deliver for the client. because delivering results for the client is what gives you retention, which allows you to reinvest in your brand and hire other people. It all is anchored in driving results. And if you drive results off of a lighthouse, using a proven process, partnering with other people who are absolutely competent in those other areas, then you will succeed because you're following a formula that does work. So if you're interested in that program, it's very limited, then reach out to Alex Tang here. And that's where I would love to see you guys go. But hey, it's not right for everybody. A lot of people, you're here because you just want to be able to learn a little bit more. You're not ready to make a commitment. You just want to start with 1 or 2 clients at a time. And that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. There's no kind of pressure. The beauty of entrepreneurship is there's many different ways to be successful, right? We know that if you want to scale and have a dominant position in a category, you have to have your network and your knowledge and your delivery. So we call that people, process, and platform. Amen. Any questions on that? Is that a big thing? Is that a big reveal? Are you guys inspired by that? Give me an amen if you're inspired by that. So the follow-up is key. We talked 2 weeks ago about how we don't say the word follow-up, but to be able to get the tasks done as you've agreed. You have all these people holding hands, singing Kumbaya, drinking Kool-Aid, but you've got to be able to drive it through task-driven execution that is based on certification that backs up your checklist. That's what we talked about today. The 6 types of project threads and the 6 reasons projects fail. You must know this by heart. If you don't know it by heart, then you will be failing without realizing why. You'll blame the client, you'll blame a team member, you'll wonder why things are not working, you'll not have it documented into a repeatable system, and then you will be trying to solve the problems all by yourself. We have tools and templates that go back to all the training. This is what we have at themasterpresentation.com. That's the thing that's $997. If you join office hours right now, which is $100 a month, you can get all these items. So this is sort of a little cheat. If you don't want to pay the $997, sign up for office hours. And I guess you could cancel after the first month if you wanted to, just to get these materials. But our hope is that as you're growing, you're going to appreciate this because you're going to want to grow your team. You're going to find that we're constantly updating our training. You're building your network. Your network is your net worth. And you'll find that this is awesome. Not because I say so, but because you're growing your agency and you're seeing it. You're seeing it from the other people in our group here. Amen? Can I get an oh yeah if you see yourself and you see other people in our group succeeding, right? Isn't that awesome? Next week, we're going to talk about how to rescue failing projects. You won't see agencies or internet marketers talk about how do they deal with failing projects, but it happens all the time. It's a dirty little secret that people don't want to admit. And in fact, you're going to experience, if you haven't already, something that's called graceful failure. You should be experiencing this every day. Graceful failure is when something minor goes wrong, but you need to save it before it snowballs into something much bigger. We're going to talk about how to spot it and how to implement these particular 6 tips we talked about when projects go wrong, right? If you can identify with the check engine light, what's going wrong, low oil, not enough gas, engines overheating, then what do you actually do? How then do you apply your checklists and processes to be able to rescue a project and turn it into a win before you get that dreaded phone call from the client where they say, Shelly Jean, we need to talk. It's been great working with you, Shelly Jean, but we need to have a conversation. Does anyone want to ever have that conversation? That is a horrible conversation. I've had that conversation many times. We'll talk about what do you need to do to spot when things are a problem. Even when team members think that everything's going great, you'll be able to tell when things are actually about to die, and you've got to catch them before they become a fatal mistake. So I think you're going to find that's going to be a lot of fun. There is a special guest that I want to bring in. I'm not going to tell you who it is, but it's someone who I think you will really appreciate. All right, guys, that's it for what we have today. Make sure you continue in the group. This is not just like church on Sunday where you're a Christian or a Jew or whatever you are one day of the week and then you're a heathen the other 6. This is who you are. This is an identity. This is what we do. This is like living and breathing, right? Del Todd knows this. He lives and breathes this. I see him doing this everywhere, right? I want to thank you guys. Have a great weekend. I know we went over time a little bit. I want to see you in the group. I want to see your successes. And I want to see you today, right now, make a gratitude post. Ideally, a 1-minute gratitude. Maybe it's for Brennan. Maybe it's for the Conquer Local Academy. Maybe it's how you love Vendasta. Maybe it's that your mom makes really great lasagna. I want you to share gratitude when you're in a moment of gratitude about anything, about how you love to walk your dog in the park, right? When you have gratitude, you create power and you generate the kind of, you draw the right people. You know, whether you believe in karma or the secret or manifesting or healing crystals or, you know, whatever you believe in, when you do this, this is how you draw the right people. Instead of drawing, you know, some people, they draw like bad people into their lives. It's just like they have problems that follow them around everywhere. I want you to start practicing gratitude. Start uplifting other people that you see are being successful and watch what happens. Watch the people that you attract to you when you do this. Can I get an oh yeah of the people that agree? We're gonna make a gratitude post right now. I'm gonna make a gratitude post too. Yeah? Oh yeah. That's what Marshall Silver likes to say. Oh yeah. All right, guys.